Okay, well, great. Thank you guys for all being here. I know how important it is that we take our mental health so seriously. It is a very, very big deal, and I appreciate you guys all investing in yourselves and in each other. So, my name is Rayne Gray, as Dr. Dara explained, and I'm currently uh, an assistant chief with the City of Buckeye Fire Department. And I recently retired from Phoenix after 25 long years, took a 3-day break, and then started over here. So, over the course of my lifetime or my adult life, I've served in a wide variety of leadership capacities. Early on, I had the opportunity to be a tank commander in the United States Marine Corps. Then I became a firefighter and a fire captain, division chief over special operations, a battalion chief over the 8th Battalion in Phoenix, which is the largest battalion, very, very busy. And and then my last step in Phoenix was to be a deputy chief over the regional dispatch center. Amazing opportunity and a lot of opportunity for stress and growth and a lot of administrative positions there. And now I find myself in an executive position with the city of Buckeye. What I want to share with you today is some things about stress. And as you can see in this first slide, it says the stressed out leader. We talk about administrators and we talk about the stress that they feel. And I want to share that with you. And I want to talk about 8 things, 8 items, eight elements that you can address that may maybe help you with the management of that stress if you find yourself in this position. So let's talk a little bit here. When I took this role on, when I got into administration, into leadership, I had a lot of friends in the operations world who said, "Hey, man, you're in operations now. There is no stress at all. No stress at all." So I tried to believe that when I went into it, and I said, really, how hard could your job be? I mean, you're not on the line running calls. You're sleeping in your own bed every single night. You're cooking your own meals. You're not exposed to carcinogens. No more going into people's homes. If you know, you know. No more body fluids. No more sick people. What's your worst fear? Getting a paper cut, right? So I tried not to internalize that too much and realize that the role is a challenge. And if being an admin is so good and paper cuts are your worst nightmare, then let's talk about it. Why can't I sleep through the night? Right? Why am I gaining weight? My first assignment in staff, I gained 40 pounds. Hand to God, 40 pounds. And I had to fight like crazy to get back into fighting shape. And why can't I stop incessantly checking my phone or checking my email? And lastly, why do I feel so compelled to work 40 plus hours every single week? Sometimes even on vacation. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit. So, I've had the opportunity over my career to work in these different sections and experience stress. I thought this was an item that was singular to me. And I reached out to a bunch of different friends who work in public safety in various domains, PD and fire both, and said, what are the things that stress you out? So I want to give you a quick overview, and then I'm going to dig into some details. So some things that were in common in these positions, and please, if at any time you want to jump in the chat and add a share, I'm gonna tap you guys for some things specifically, but feel free to give me some feedback. Throw up some praise hands, throw up a thumbs up, or whatever. I appreciate any of that feedback that you provide. So, things that we have in common: running complex, multifaceted projects and operations, managing facilities and resources, procurement, budget, strategic planning. These are all managerial things that can be very stressful. What about policy work, right? Researching, legislating, regulatory issues that we have to deal with, labor and management relationships, managing those relationships and moving the organization forward in a healthy way in lockstep with our labor counterparts. There's creative work, We have to do forecasting and forward thinking and innovating, trying to be a progressive organization. Incredibly challenging. Program management, actually producing deliverables and building curriculum, teaching programs. And then one of the primary things that ties all these things together is people, right? Leading, training, coaching, developing, managing, encouraging, disciplining, correcting, and counseling people. So in consideration of the fact that maybe, just maybe, I was the only one experiencing these things, I reached out to my friends and I said, let's talk about some things that are very specific that you guys experience. What keeps you up at night? What stresses you? And I want to talk about some of those things. One of them is employees behaving badly.
Uh-oh.
What?
People.
Oh no, people.
Uh-oh.
Give me a shout out if you can relate. Jump in that chat. Tell me how much people affect your operations. They're the cornerstone, right? They're absolutely the cornerstone. They're why we show up. They are our primary, most expensive and most complicated resource. And the expression that comes to my mind all the time is people are messy, right? Life is messy. And so I think about the fact that when people get in or out, when they're on duty or off duty, when they're in or out of policy, that creates a tremendous stress for administrators. And we like to use the expression, "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas." I've heard firefighters say, "Well, what happens in the firehouse stays in the firehouse." And what I want to say to you is, you wish. The reality in our world is that's not a thing anymore. We're surrounded by technology and we're surrounded by video cameras and audio recordings. And the fact that you think that your bad behavior, right, your lack of compliance is not going to be captured somewhere is baffling to me. I'll give you a wonderful example. We had a customer complaint that got brought to my attention when I was a battalion. And the crew, the citizen called and said, "Hey, Chief, I would like to file a complaint. Your crew did an amazing job." And I was like, "Great. Tell me more about this complaint. I'm confused." He goes, "Hey, so they came in, they provided treatment, they took me to the hospital. It was wonderful. When I got home from the hospital, I pulled up my security cameras inside my house, and I want to share with you something that I saw." And I was like, "Oh boy, here it comes." The crew was in the bedroom. Well, one of the crew members was left out. It couldn't fit in the room. So they were lingering around in the kitchen. And this firefighter decided to sit on the kitchen counter. Now, is that the most egregious thing? No. But is it cool? Absolutely not. You don't put your dirty behind on other people's kitchen counters. We just don't do that, right? So it's a bad look for all of us. Now, that's a kind of a laughable, funny opportunity or moment rather in time. But this is the stuff that causes drama when we go further, right? When firefighters do things that are more egregious, when law enforcement gets caught doing things that are outside of policy, that creates tremendous stress for administrators. Let's talk about
Uh-oh.
What?
Slideshow drama. Let me see if I can get to the next slide. Let's talk about pressurized political decision making. There are so many times when we have to navigate the world between the electeds and our operations. So House Bill 2431 threatened to change the way we do EMS in the state of Arizona. A lot of pressure put on the fire service. Let's talk about defunding the police. Pressure to change service delivery models driven by reduction of budgets and lack of fiscal support, absolutely causing the electeds and city management to have to retool and reshape what they were going to provide PD. You have presumptive cancer laws, right, that push the industry and cause us to have to reconsider how we manage exposure to our firefighters, right? We still want to go interior to a burning building and rescue people, but are we put in a position where we have to reconsider our deployment model because of the rates of cancer that are climbing for our folks? So here's my question for you. Jump in the chat. Tell me, what are some political issues that pressurize your organization? Okay, let's talk about budget constraints versus operational needs. With call volume in our valley increasing rapidly and across the state, frankly, as people moving into Arizona because it's an amazing place to live, call volume is going up, and our ability to just throw money at problems is hampered, right? In the valley, for example, if you want to build stations, the cost of building a fire station is upwards of $13 million just for a single fire station. That's incredibly expensive. If you're inside the Phoenix metro area, where are you going to build a fire station? There's no land, so it's cost prohibitive. There's no space, and then the market is incredibly volatile. So again, this pressurizes our ability to get things done. And we want to provide service delivery in the community, right? You want to hire more police and firefighters. The problem is, though, recruitment numbers are at an all-time low. And a factor that's putting pressure also is that attrition is at an all-time high. So, excuse me, our ability to keep our operations moving are compromised by these costs that we're running into. All right. This one is really interesting. We get stress from empathy, right? We care about our people in so many ways. We love and appreciate them. We are one of them. I often tell people, hey, I am a firefighter serving in the role and capacity as an assistant chief, right? Because deep inside here is the kid who wants to kick in the door and drag a hose and squirt water and fight fire, okay? And so the stress, we think about the stress, we think about the devastation and the trauma and the things that our folks are experiencing every day. These are the things that keep people up at night. And I was a young battalion chief, and I snapped this picture. The crew, ladder crew up on the roof, and I'm sitting in my battalion wagon watching them backlit by fire. And all I could think was, how am I supposed to keep these guys safe? Because I can't have my hands on their coattails anymore. So the only thing I can do is ensure, or what I'm worried about is, hey, are they well trained? Do they have the training they need? Are they inside the SOPs? Are they doing the things they're supposed to be doing, right? And as an organization, are we following best practices, right? Here's my question for you. What are the things, when you think about your people as an administrator, as a boss, as a supervisor, as a leader, what are the things that keep you up at night? Jump in the chat, throw those things in there. I want to know what keeps you up at night. And if you guys can relate to any of this, give me a thumbs up. Okay. Sleep disorders. Okay. This is another stress that administrators experience. A lot of this is leftover from your day's work and shift work. That is, it leaves a mark on your body, and it's incredibly hard to recover from. But I'm going to add to this. It's all the stuff that we just talked about, the political issues, the budget constraints, the concern for your people. These are the things that are rattling around in your head. And those emerging and current issues keep you awake at night. Not to mention, we have where's my cell phone? We have these devices that we're playing with every night, and our sleep hygiene is horrible, right? We're checking our emails, we're looking at our phone, we're trolling Instagram before we go to bed, or we're watching TV. And I don't even want to talk about the fact that as we age, we end up with sleep apnea. My bad knees and back give me such an ache that I end up tossing and turning all night trying to find the right position. And I'm not going to get into the bladder issue, but getting up to go pee in the middle of the night is a real thing. If anybody who can relate, give me a thumbs up. I know you're out there. I know you guys. I've laid in bed for 30 minutes arguing with myself about whether or not I should get up and go to the bathroom or just try to fall back asleep and fight through it. It's ridiculous. And I know you know what I'm talking about. Okay. A couple more things, and then I want to get into how we solve this. But the 40-hour plus work week, this is a real thing. I remember having a boss tell me, hey, listen, you need to understand that when you become a deputy chief, that comes with 50-hour work week plus. This was my boss telling me that. And I was like, you're setting an expectation that is outside the parameters. Like, that seems ridiculous. And I had to learn to embrace that. But the reality is that these are spoken and sometimes unspoken expectations that get put on us. And, sometimes those signals come from if you read this cartoon here, right, your peers will put this pressure on you. They come in and go, yeah, I stayed at work until 7 last night getting it done. I am getting after it. And you're sitting here going, well, I left at 5. What kind of employee am I, right? Am I really holding the bar where I should be holding it? That's a problem, right? That's a real problem. And we're going to talk more about that. The idea of work-life balance, this is something that we talk about a lot. We talk about, the wheel and the spokes of the wheel, how they need to be all balanced and in tune with one another so the wheel doesn't get wobbly. But the reality is that work is a give and take, and that is incredibly stressful on our bodies as we work through the boundaries that we're setting or not. Okay. And I will tell you something here. I sat on I went to a conference last week, and there was a panel of retired fire chiefs. And the question that was posed to them was, what is one thing that you would do different in your career looking back? And they paused, and there was some silence. And finally, one guy spoke up and he said, I wouldn't have given as much of myself to the job. Anybody relate to that? Give me a thumbs up if you can relate to that. We give so much of ourselves to this job, and it's really important that we be mindful of that. We recognize that. We say that. We create these expectations of what this job looks like and what it does to us. And here's a retired fire chief. Being a fire chief is incredibly demanding. I imagine a police chief is just the same. How do you keep some back for your family and for yourself? It's tough, and it's something we're going to talk about. Okay, feeling undervalued and disrespected, right? I talked about one of my buddies was like, listen, I get circumvented by my subordinates. That makes me feel like crap. Makes me question, am I doing my job the way I'm supposed to be doing it? What am I missing? It puts pressure on the administrator. Also, it goes the same way when you talk about your superiors, right? How do you get disrespected by your superiors? Jump in the chat. How are you being disrespected by your superiors? What does that look like to you? I look at it, I say lack of communication. When I feel like I'm being left out of the loop, or it's the communication is unclear, that to me is a lack of respect for us as peers, in the organization, et cetera. And then, the other piece of this is the lack of support from other sections in the organization. When you feel like you're on an island by yourself, or you're siloed from everybody else, and they're operating without care or concern for you or your section and subordinates, that's a problem, and it has to be worked through. Okay, what are some things? Jump in the chat, and Kevin, if you can help me with this, what are some things that I missed in this list of things that stress us out as administrator? What are some other elements that we can speak to?
So we have one that says unclear direction, lack of transparency from Nicole. And then Brian says it's tough to stop being engaged with the job. It's calling that we love and something that we know we can give a positive sense of purpose in our lives. But then at the same time, also have negative effects on your life, health, and family relationship balance. Jennifer Duong says internal personality conflicts that you have no control over.
Love it. Great.
talking down to you.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. Hey, thank you guys for jumping in there in the chat. I really appreciate that. Okay, so I promised you that I would offer you some suggestions on how you might manage or ameliorate some of these stresses. And I came up with eight. The truth is there's probably 100. And I just went for the 8 that I thought were the most easily grasped, the most tangible right now, something you could do today that you can change and make an effect on your life. So let's talk about them. Hold on here, sorry. Okay. First things first. Now the first few are you're going to say to yourself, well, duh, Rayne, that's obvious, right? Super obvious, because we talk about this stuff all the time. We talk about it all the time. The crux of the problem is we don't do it. Okay. We get wrapped up. And I'll give you an example. This week for me, okay, sad. This is sad, but this is my reality right now. And I want to be completely honest and vulnerable with you guys. I am powered right now by this garbage, which is keeping myself. Anybody else? Give me some thumbs up. Anybody else know what I'm talking about? It's ridiculous. Powered by caffeine right now. Incredibly unhealthy. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But let me just say, this week, as an example, really early mornings, late nights, all really important and all relevant stuff. But I haven't had hardly any time to go out and get some exercise. But here's the thing about exercise. It's incredibly important for us for a myriad of reasons. One, it improves your mood. So when you go out and you walk, you lift weights, you go train jiu-jitsu, you go for a hike in the Grand Canyon, like this picture points out, it releases endorphins in your body. And I don't want to get into the science because that's not my area of expertise, but I want you to know that I have firsthand experience with this, and I know you do as well. It releases the happy hormones of endorphins in your body. It improves your mood and boosts your self-confidence. That's a win right there. So going out, here's the collateral, right? It also helps with disease factors like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, right? You going out and exercising is going to help you be more successful at work. So, there's also the added benefits of feeling strong and capable. And I told you earlier that in my first staff assignment, I gained 40 pounds. And I went from feeling like an absolute hero to feeling discontent and unhappy and miserable, right? Partly because I gained weight, but also because I was treating my body horribly. And so it's important that if you want to feel vitality, you have to do the things that lead you there. So do not sacrifice your body for this job. Okay. You have to do the things to help yourself stay healthy. And I like to think of it in terms of, what do I want to do 5 years from now? Right? I want to be able to continue to do the work that I'm doing, but I also want to be able to crawl around on the ground with my grandchildren. I don't have any yet, but when I have some grandchildren, I want to be able to go and play with them. I want to be able to go hike in the Grand Canyon and do the things that I enjoy doing in my life. Jump in the chat. What are the things that you want to be able to stay healthy to do? Kevin, what are some people saying? Did I lose Kevin?
I'm muted. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Live a long life, travel, exercise, travel the world, enjoy the retirement.
Yes.
Sickness.
Yes.
Isn't that nice just to not be sick?
That's what I'm talking about.
have mobility for life, have a, hike, travel, have a kettlebell by my desk. Thanks, Ryan. I love that.
Yes.
Kimberly Brophy, health equals wealth.
Yes. I love that. I wrote my note here. It says travel, and I'm not a golfer, but play golf with my friends. Like, who do I see on the golf course? Old people out there golfing. Well, if you're unhealthy, even golfing is going to get problematic. So stay healthy. All right. I love that. Thank you, Kevin. All right. Now, you guys are going to laugh. Be organized. Okay. This one to me is kind of funny because there's a couple levels to this. When you lay your head on your pillow at night, your brain is spinning. We talked about this. Your brain is full of the weeks long work, the projects, the people in your life that you have things that you got to close out on. So what do we do with this? Right? If you, one of the tricks that I figured out was at the end of my day, I go down and I write down things that I have pending. And I say, okay, what's due tomorrow? And I make a list for the next day on what I'm going to do. That allows me to unload and offload my brain. So when I go home, I'm not thinking about work anymore. I'm not trying to remember the stuff that's happening in meetings coming up or subsequent days or conversations I've had. The other thing I do is I specifically use a program in Outlook called OneNote. And OneNote allows me to have a place I can put information electronically on all my platforms. So I can use it on my computer, I can use it on my phone. And so anytime I have a thought or an idea that I need to connect to work, I jump into OneNote and I write that in there. Okay, jump in the chat. What are some places that you document your information to keep organized? So the other thing I do is I use a spreadsheet and I put all my projects on the spreadsheet and then I put kind of the timelines, and it's not crazy. I am not a perfectionist. It just allows me to put timetables and put things in alignment so I know where they're located at.
We have some creative ideas here.
So share with me. I'd love to hear it.
Like sticky notes on their phone, but Jennifer, she's like, I just text myself. Nice. It's great.
That sounds like the opening lyrics of a song. I text myself.
I text myself. When I think about you, I text myself. No, desk calendar notes on phone. If I lost my planner, my heart would stop. I also, it would be fun if you could send a text to your future self. It's like, send a text at this time. Oh, it's just set a reminder, I guess.
Well, hey, so here's the thing. When you download that information, you're unloading your brain, which is important because throughout the day, you're loading up with all kinds of hallway conversations and meeting information and your task. One of the things that I discovered when I got into the office was I was task switching frequently, talking about different topics all the time. And keeping track of all that is tough to do and takes you have to build a process for yourself. And early on, it was incredibly overwhelming. So something to do. The other thing I want to throw at you is once you've done that and you put all these pieces in place, you can begin to relax and allows you to prioritize. And the expression that I picked up from Jocko Willink is prioritize and execute. If you're a mess, if you're all over the place, it's very, very difficult to execute on the things that are important to you. So you line them out, you make your priorities for the day, and then you execute on those priorities. Okay, here's something I want to add to that. There's a book called Deep Work. I have it on my bookshelf right here by an author by the name of Cal Newport. And in this book, Deep Work, they talk about email. Prioritizing your day is incredibly challenging because one of the things that happens when you show up to work is we jump in our emails and we immediately start going, oh, what's the new information that's happening today? And suddenly I found myself, my day being driven by the people who emailed me because they would say it would be just in time information. And like a Pavlov's dog, when the bell would ring, I check my email and I'm looking, ooh, what's the next thing? So what Cal Newport discusses in his book is setting your email aside. Prioritize your day. You come in the morning and you say, these are the things that are important to me. I'm going to do these things first on my calendar and on my projects, whatever the work is you're working on, you do those priorities first, and then you get into your email later in the day and then reestablish your priorities for the next day. Give me some thumbs up if you think that's a valuable tool, setting the email aside.
I literally only check email twice a day, once in the beginning, once in the end. That's it.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Kevin, it's simple, but not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy because we get compelled by we have these devices in our hands and the emails right at our fingertips. It's a problem. All right. Now, I'm going to throw this at you guys, and you're going to hate me because nobody wants to talk about diet. The stuff that we put in our mouth is incredibly, can be problematic for us, right? It's very, very simple to eat healthy. But when you're a busy person and you have a lot of different things going on, preparing healthy foods is really, really challenging. Anybody relate? Jump in the comments. Tell me how hard it is to prepare food. I'm curious if anybody else is having the same experience. To me, it's tough. Now, I will tell you that when we eat a healthy diet, it counteracts stress in our bodies. It's incredibly good for us. It helps our immune system and it lowers our blood pressure. It is really, really good for us. So, for example, if we're eating foods that are high in antioxidants, right? Tea, blueberries, beetroot, beans, really, really good for us. If we're eating foods that are high in omega fatty acids, nuts, flax, chia seeds, for example, good for us, right? What about the vitamins that we need in our bodies? Vitamin C, B6, vitamin E, etc. These are the things that help bolster our immune system and protect us when work gets incredibly stressful. So it's eating a clean diet is not just about having the physique that you want every single day. It's a great side effect. But the most important thing is we talked about why do we want to be healthy? Why do we want to be physically fit so that we can do all these activities in our lives and also be able to show up for work in a healthy way, right? Nothing wrong with that, but understand that it's a challenge. So I would love what are some of the things that you find a challenge to eating healthy? I find the food prep is really, really tough to do. I don't have time. By the time I get home, I'm super exhausted. I'm not going to the grocery store. Who's going to the grocery store on a Saturday when every other person in humanity is going to the grocery store, right? Here's the simple formula. Eat lean meats, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and berries. If it comes in a package and is processed food, probably not good for you. That's the rule of thumb. Really, really simple. But again, the execution of that is tough. So I asked you, jump in the chat. What are the things that get in the way of healthy eating? Kevin, what do we see up there?
Natural eggs. We got a lot of convenient sort of commentary on convenient but unhealthy. Available many places. Clothes you're busy when active on the job. Takes time to prep.
Yeah.
Shift work. It's important. If you find a way, and if not, you'll find an excuse.
Okay. That's putting some pressure on a lot of
folks. Their biggest thing is time. I'm seeing time as the most common answer.
Yeah. So the thing that I tell myself all the time when I'm putting pressure back on myself, and somebody just commented something very similar. If it's important to you, you would find a way, right? And I fully believe that. It doesn't mean there's obstacles for all of us, and we got to figure out what those obstacles are and figure out how to get around them. It's a challenge. And yeah, you're absolutely right. If it's important to you, you will make it happen. And that's why we're having this conversation, because we have to figure out some of the support structures we can put in place to get through this stuff, right? Okay, I'm going to jump into another piece. Get a hobby. Why is this important? Why is it important that you do the things that you love? Why do you think? Tell me in the chat. Why do you think it's important that you do things you love? I had an epiphany when I turned 50 2 years ago. I turned 50 and I had an epiphany. I realized that if I'm really lucky, I have 25 to 30 years left on this planet. Or let me say this, 25 years of me feeling really good, maybe. And then I said, well, gee, that's only 25 summers. That means I only have I have a finite amount of time left. Now, I'm not trying to bring y'all down. What I'm trying to say is we need to recognize that if there's something that's undone that you want to do with your life, if there's a hobby or there's something that you like to do that brings you joy, do that thing. It's incredibly important. And so jump in the chat. What are the things that bring you joy that you need to be doing more of that you've not allowed to be in your life? I want to know what those things are, because we need to be mindful that we are not always allowing ourselves enough space for that. And we got to do it. We got to create space for those things. Here's the thing too. When you do these things that you love, whether it's physical fitness or it's something like it's painting or it's you like to build puzzles or you like to do construction or whatever it is, it lowers your stress level sometimes, depending on the hobby, I suppose. But it lowers your heart rate, it increases your mood, right? It releases those endorphins. Very, very important for us. And it also allows you to be more engaged with the outside world. Right? It's very easy to go to work, come home, right? Plug into your community, plug into people out there in the world who are doing the fun things that you love to do. So Kevin, what are some of the hobbies or some of the things that people want to be doing?
Long motorcycle rides, quality time, karaoke, travel, read, hiking, a lot of traveling.
Yeah,
yeah.
Love that. I love that. Okay.
So working in my shop, that's a fun one. Is it a
that
shop, Alan?
No, great comments. Okay, so the first four things that we just talked about were
sorry,
no, go ahead.
There was a comment about ableist choices, ADA considerations. There's some things as reading, like reading and karaoke are both things that anyone can enjoy. Time with loved ones is also something everyone can enjoy. Yeah. Cool, Alan.
I love that.
Metal and wood shop. Neat.
I love that. I think the most important thing is that we as individuals identify the things that we are missing in our lives that we would like to be doing and that you're not doing, right? What are the things that you love that you are not currently doing in your life? Go do those things. And going back to our previous thing, right? If it's important to you, you'll find a way. So let's set time apart for those activities. They bring you joy, and they will, when you show up back to work, you'll be much refreshed and you'll be more whole when you show up because your life is more well-rounded with those things, which is great. So the first four things we talked about were kind of, I would say the easy things that are easy for you to control. You go out, you do these things, and boom, off you go. So I want to touch base on some other things. So way back when our ancestors were cave people, they were saber-toothed tigers chasing them around, right? And your fight or flight response was built on the saber-toothed tiger. And the reality is that now we don't really have saber-toothed tigers chasing us around, but we still have a stress response built into our bodies. And I put this slide up here, this idea that you have discretionary time. So when when I got put in the office for the very first time, I got some wise counsel, and my mentor said to me, "Hey, listen, understand that when you're making decisions in the office, there is no light bar. In other words, there's no saber-toothed tiger chasing you. You're not responding to an emergency. You have time." And we've gotten so used to responding to things in a 15 to 20 minute snap, right? These are very quick, short-term evolutions. We run out, we solve a problem, we go back into service. And as firefighters, we go back to the station, we kick back in a strato. Officers go back available and cruise around, find a donut shop, whatever. Not judging, but we okay. Give me some thumbs up. That was funny. I want to see some feedback on that. Hook a brother up. Now, understand that we have time to ponder and pray about these things. We can consider the activities when they come into our office, right? When we get personnel matters, it serves you well to slow down and really think through the consequences of what's taking place in your office. So it's the other piece I want to add to that is understand that we want to get it all done in a day, but there will always be more work tomorrow, right? So pace yourself, plan accordingly, prioritize the work, do the research, and work through things. The last thing you want to do is rush through something, making a bunch of mistakes when you have time to work through it. It's unnecessary stress. And when that initial fight or flight comes in, you need to de-energize it and give yourself some time. Okay. I want to talk about boundary setting. This is incredibly challenging for us, but is a very important form of self-care. And my definition for this, when we talk about setting boundaries, the definition for this is the ability to say no, or the ability to tell people what you need from them. And here's my question for you. What are the things that prevent you from setting boundaries? Jump in the chat. Tell me what prevents you from setting boundaries with people. The ability to tell people what's okay and what is not okay is really, really tough. I'll give you an example. People will say, we talk about work hours, right? I'll give you an example. My boss comes in and goes, hey, I grind. No one works harder than me. And I'm like, are you saying that you expect me to burn the candle on both ends? What does this look like? Very unclear expectations. So that for me, setting a boundary was saying, hey, boss, I come in at 8 o'clock in the morning and I leave at 5. And after 5 o'clock, I'm not available. And I know some of you are like, what? That's heresy. This is a 24/7 operation. You're available, right? You're an exempt employee. You're an executive officer. You have to be available. And to a certain degree, that is true. However, we have to set boundaries, because what happens is I would get phone calls after hours for stuff that was not an emergency. It could wait till tomorrow. So it's important that we tell folks, hey, I am setting a boundary. Don't call me after 5 unless your hair is on fire. Okay. In which case, call 911. You don't need me. You need fire department. Okay. So it's really, really important that we establish for ourselves our boundaries. Okay. And I'm running a little short on time, so I'm going to move. Okay. Here's the other thing. We hear people talk about how lonely it is at the top. And we all need somebody we can talk to or go to with these tough issues, right? When we have a very difficult personnel matter or something like that, and we're like, I need to bounce this off somebody, and I have nobody in my office I can talk to because that would not be appropriate to share that. And so we have to build a team of folks, right? And I call it a phone a friend, right? Who's that person that you can go to share information, to share ideas, to get feedback on decisions that you're making? Because we don't, just because you've come through your whole career and you've arrived at a place, it doesn't mean you know everything. Matter of fact, I will tell you, the more I learn, the more I realize that there's more I don't know. So it's critical that we build this group. And I have this, this picture up here where I have on the left is my wife. I can tell her the most intimate and difficult things that I'm experiencing. And then you go down the line, and I have my peers and my team and my best bro on the far right there. That person is somebody I can call and go, hey, I am dealing with a work issue that I don't understand. I can be vulnerable and share. Here's what I'm wrestling with. So think about who in your life is that person for you, and make sure they're on your list. Now, the last thing I want to share with you is vacation, right? In order to be whole at work, in order to stay healthy and resilient, you got to take a break. You got to take a break. And that can be a short break. You can go for a hike for an hour, for 2 hours. You can go to your favorite place. You can go to the favorite coffee shop where you unplug and you don't answer your phone. You dig into that book that you've been wanting to read, and you separate yourself from work. If you like to travel, go to faraway places. And when you get there, don't think about work. Here's the challenge with vacation. And again, this is actually a Cal Newport item. He talks about going on vacation. The first couple of days on vacation, you're unwinding, you're decompressing from work. Then we have your real vacation time. And then when you're heading back into work, usually a day or two before your vacation ends, you start thinking about work. And now you're processing, how many emails am I missing? What's been left behind? Here's the thing. It's really important that you delegate your responsibilities and that you give a real out of office and unplug. And here's a trick I want to share with you that I picked up. My last out of office read like this, quote, I will be out of office from June 1st through June 10th, and I will not read any email sent during this time. If you need my attention to a matter, please do not send it until after June 10th. Any urgent communications or emergencies should be directed to my delegate, blah, 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 blah. That was me setting a hard boundary and saying, I am not available. And matter of fact, I am not going to read your email. I didn't get any pushback from that. And I went, my very first vacation in staff, I had like 1,500 emails when I got back. This time I had like 150. It was amazing. So it's a trick. It's a tool you can use to set a boundary and create clear expectations for communication with your team. Now I am running really short on time, so I'm going to pull it to a close. I know what you're thinking, Rayne, how the heck am I supposed to do all this? Well, start small, 5 minutes. 5 minutes of activity that you're taught that you want to do, right? Whether it's exercise, let's do 5 minutes of exercise. How about write down the boundaries that you want to keep? If you're not ready to hold those boundaries, write them down and start to establish what those boundaries look like for you. And then the last thing, journal. Write down the things in OneNote or whatever to start keeping track of priorities and issues. And then, like I said before, prioritize and execute. Okay. And the last nugget I'll throw at you, this is a bonus one. Go see your favorite therapist. Talk to them about how you're exercising. Talk to them about being organized, how you're going to eat healthy, the things that are obstacles to doing your hobbies, right? How are you managing your phone of friends, right? What does that look like? And then why won't you unplug and really go on vacation? What is the obstacle preventing that? And I thank you guys so much for your attention. I hope this is helpful in some way, shape, or form. If I can answer any questions, I would be happy to. I know I'm out of time. If you want to reach out to me, there's my information. I am happy to visit with you, to correspond, to talk about, well, frankly, anything. I'm down for the cause.